Perinatal OCD is a subtype of OCD that centers around intrusive thoughts about failing as a parent or harm being done to your newborn during or after your pregnancy. Now, postpartum OCD is very similar to perinatal OCD as they experience the same, triggers, obsessions, and compulsions. The only difference is the time difference. With perinatal OCD, it starts, during the pregnancy or right after the pregnancy. Whether, with postpartum OCD, it happens, a little later on down the line with the pregnancy, a little further down, like the timeline of the pregnancy, like basically while the child is growing. And yeah. What's going on, my peoples, man? Appreciate y'all tuning back into the channel. If y'all haven't already, man, make sure y'all subscribe and turn on post notifications so y'all don't miss a beat when I upload. And as y'all can see by the title, we're going to be talking about perinatal OCD and postpartum OCD. Now, before we get into it, I'm saying, I'll throw my disclaimer out there. Well, I'll say this first. The reason why I put both of these subtypes together, because they basically the same thing, and I feel like if I was to make, separate videos, I'll basically just be repeating myself because they basically go through the same triggers, obsessions, and compulsions. They just go through it at different times. So yeah. But speaking of triggers, obsessions, and compulsions, as y'all may know in my videos, I speak on common triggers, obsessions, and compulsions. So if I don't mention a trigger, obsession, or compulsion that you fall into, it does not mean that you don't have OCD. It does not mean that you don't have, this specific subtype of OCD, because OCD isn't one size fit all. Well, I may go through an OCD, you may not go through an OCD. Would you go through an OCD? I may not go through with OCD, but just because we don't go through the same things all the time, it does not mean that either of us don't have OCD. So yeah, before we get into the video, make sure you follow me on my social medias. I'm gonna put them right here. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Becoming a new parent can be very scary, and worrying about being a good parent is very common. You may even heard of postpartum depression, where, women who gives birth to, their newborn, after, a certain period of time, they experience this, extreme amount of sadness, depression, and, sometimes feel not fit, as a parent. Now, like I said, these are all very common to experience when you are going through, pregnancy or just becoming a new parent overall. And for the most part, people are able to, get through it and, focus on becoming a great parent. Now, someone with perinatal OCD and postpartum OCD obsesses over these fears and just the overall experience as far as, the sadness, depression, and once again, the fears, because they feel like these things may define who they are or who they might be as a parent, or what may happen with them being a parent. And they also obsess over intrusive thoughts surrounding possible harm towards their newborn child or just their child's safety, and just not being a good parent overall due to them feeling like these things may be true. Here are some perinatal and postpartum OCD triggers that someone may go through. Intrusive thoughts surrounding harm towards their child. So this could be them harming their child, or just harm being done to them by someone else, or just any harm being done. Intrusive images or visuals of harm being done to their child. So this is basically you seeing, things actually like play out in your mind on how your child could, be hurt. And yeah. And urges, this is basically you feeling like you can, harm your child, or that you actually want to harm your child. Now, here are some perinatal and postpartum OCD obsessions. Fear of you harming the baby or any harm being done to the baby. So you can feel like, when you're carrying the baby, you feel like you may drop them, or, leaving your baby, in someone else's hands, you may feel like the person that you left them with may harm them. Worrying about hereditary conditions. So basically you passing on some type of mental condition or disease to your child. And once again, not being fit as a parent. And here are some perinatal OCD and postpartum OCD compulsions that someone may fall into. Avoiding their child. So people feel like that these things may be true or could actually happen. So to prevent them from happening, they completely avoid their child. Seeking reassurance. So this is us basically asking our loved ones if we are, fit for a parent. Are we taking care of our child properly? Do they look healthy? Stuff in that nature. Constantly checking on our child, making sure that they are, sleeping correctly or even breathing. And excessively cleaning. So we basically are, cleaning everything around our child to make sure that they are, free from becoming contaminated. So we're washing, their bottles constantly. We're washing the toys that they use. We're washing their clothes to make sure they are, free from being contaminated. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what perinatal OCD and postpartum OCD consist of. I hope this video is informative to anybody that's watching. If you're someone that's dealing with this subtype or both subtypes, I just want to let you know that you are not alone. You're very understood, very much seen, and very much heard. And yeah, I hope this video helped you feel less alone and help you get a better understanding of what you're experiencing when it comes to this subtype or both of these subtypes. And I also do want to mention, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, that in this video I mentioned, I talked about common triggers, obsessions, and compulsions when it comes to these subtypes. And just because I may not experience something that you may be going through when it comes to these subtypes, it does not mean that you don't have, these subtypes or one of these subtypes, because OCD isn't one size fit all. Well, I may go through OCD, you may not go through OCD. And what you go through OCD, I may not go through OCD. And yeah, don't let anybody experience with OCD define your experience with OCD, because yes, it's very common. Like what we experience with OCD is very common. We all experience mostly the same thing, but we also experience different things. And yeah, so once again, hope this video was very helpful and informative to the people that's dealing with this subtype or both of these subtypes. And yeah, to someone that's just watching these videos to just get informed on what OCD is overall and what these subtypes are. I hope this video was very informative to you. I hope this video helps you help someone around you that may be dealing with one of these subtypes or both of these subtypes. And yeah, I think that's it. I appreciate y'all tuning into the video. Make sure y'all leave that like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss it when I upload. And yeah, if you haven't already, make sure y'all follow me on all my social medias right here. And yeah, I'm going to start posting more on YouTube and TikTok. I haven't really been posting a lot of, well, as far as videos on YouTube, of course, I've been on top of it, but I feel like I want to post more shorts and reels on both sides of, like I said, TikTok and YouTube for, my gaming and mental health. But yeah, if you haven't already, check out my last video right here where we was playing, what was the last video? Damn. What was the last video? Was it Dead by Daylight?
2 hours later.
It was Dead by Daylight. I was playing as the Alien versus Predator character on there. I was going crazy on there, so make sure y'all check that out. And yeah, that is it. I appreciate y'all tuning in this video. Make sure y'all, well, I already said all of that. Make sure y'all have a great day, a great night, whenever y'all watching this. And as always,